Breaking right now on Morning News Now, President Biden in Israel, touching down early this morning, holding meetings with Israeli leaders as a show of support and pushing for a humanitarian corridor to open to desperate civilians in Gaza.
The fact is that Israel, as they respond to these attacks, seems to me that they have to continue to ensure that you have what you need to defend yourselves. And we have to also bear in mind that Hamas does not represent all the Palestinian people, and that has brought them only suffering.
But the visit comes just one day after hundreds of people were killed in a catastrophic explosion at a hospital in Gaza. Images of the aftermath of the blast inflaming already high tensions in the region, with Hamas militants and the Israeli military blaming each other. In a statement, President Biden said he was, quote, outraged and deeply saddened by the explosion and directed his national security team to figure out what exactly happened. Meanwhile, a senior Hamas official tells NBC News that the group is willing to release some hostages held captive on the condition that Israel stops bombing Gaza.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us. I'm Joe Fryer.
And I'm Savannah Sellers.
We have full team coverage of the latest out of the Middle East. We begin with the president's high-stakes visit. Joining us, NBC News foreign correspondent Raf Sanchez and NBC News White House correspondent Monica Alba to kick us off this hour. Monica, let's start with you. It's been just a few hours since President Biden touched down in Tel Aviv. He's already met with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. So tell us about the president's day so far and what's to come as he sees the devastation firsthand.
Well, this trip, Joe and Savannah, was all about showing solidarity with Israel and literally embracing the country after this tragedy. And we saw the president and Prime Minister Netanyahu physically hug once he arrived on that tarmac. And just now, in some remarks, the president continued to say that he wanted to show this message that the United States will continue to stand with Israel today, tomorrow, and always. But there is such a volatile backdrop to all of this and what the president is landing in. The fact that as he was heading to the airport to head to Tel Aviv, the Jordan portion of the trip was canceled because of the aftermath and the information that we're still working on to learn more about with that hospital explosion in Gaza, something that President Biden has expressed his deepest condolences to, given that loss of life that appears there. But now there are these major questions about who may have been responsible. The president, though, wanting to put the focus on why he made this trip now and why he feels, again, that the U.S. needs to stand shoulder to shoulder with Israel. Listen.
I wanted to be here today for a simple reason. I want the people of Israel, the people of the world, to know where the United States stands. The fact is that Israel, as they respond to these attacks, it seems to me that they have to continue to ensure that you have what you need to defend yourselves. And we're going to make sure that occurs. And we have to also bear in mind that Hamas does not represent all the Palestinian people.
And the president is also meeting with Prime Minister Netanyahu and his war cabinet to talk about what happens from here. And then later on in the day, we understand he will be meeting with some family members who lost loved ones in the terrorist attack by Hamas on October 7th. And he may also be meeting with some first responders as well while they're in Tel Aviv. Joe.
Monica, stay with us. Let me bring Raf in now. So the other big story this morning, of course, this finger pointing from both sides regarding that Gaza hospital explosion that has killed hundreds. We've also now seen protests erupt across the Middle East in response to that, including in Jordan. That is where President Biden was supposed to go for a summit with other leaders in the region before that part of the trip was canceled. What is the latest about this blast, and what type of evidence do we have about who is responsible?
Well, Savannah, it's been more than 12 hours now since that explosion, but the fog of war still hangs very heavily over the Al-Ahli hospital in Gaza City. Here's what we know. In the last couple of hours, the Israeli military has released evidence of what it says is proof that this was a Palestinian Islamic Jihad rocket which misfired. They're pointing to two things. One, drone footage over the hospital, which they say shows that there is no crater outside the hospital. You would expect if this was an Israeli airstrike with a heavy ordnance that there would be some kind of crater. Two, they have released what they are saying is an intercepted conversation between two Hamas officials, where these officials seem to acknowledge that this was a misfired Palestinian rocket that caused the explosion. We should be really clear. NBC News is not able to verify either of these Israeli claims. We are not able to get to the hospital ourselves. The Israel-Gaza border is sealed. The Egypt-Gaza border is sealed, so we are not able to verify this ourselves. The Palestinians are adamant that this was an Israeli airstrike. They are saying that hundreds of people were killed. It is worth saying Hamas and Islamic Jihad do not acknowledge that their rockets do fall in Gaza, which does happen. But it is also worth saying that this is a much, much larger death toll than what we would normally associate with Palestinian rockets, which are deadly, which are dangerous, but they do not normally kill hundreds of people.
So, Monica, another question. Is the president expected to submit a $100 billion supplemental funding request to Congress in the coming days that would help Israel? That's according to two people familiar with the matter. What should we expect to be included in that funding, and how likely is it to get through, especially with a speakerless House?
Yeah, it's not, is the short answer to that. There's a paralysis on Capitol Hill right now in the House of Representatives that without it, they won't be able to advance much more than what they can do, which is essentially draft this supplemental request where the Biden administration is preparing to ask for something in the ballpark of $100 billion to address several things, including emergency aid for Israel, including continued funding for the war in Ukraine, now, of course, stretching on into its second year, and then also addressing some other domestic priorities, things like U.S. border security. And the question here now becomes, is there enough bipartisan support for something like this? We know that there have been differing views on several pieces of it. There's also a push to include some money for Taiwan. So that is why it is such a large number. But I am also told by somebody involved in this that it's not finalized yet because the contours could change, and that could also be shifted because of the president's time on the ground in Israel, depending on what more they are asking for. But we should expect to see at least what this supplemental request looks like sometime at the end of this week when the president does return from his travels. And then there's an expectation on Capitol Hill that they could move on that in the coming weeks. Remember, we're now up against that deadline for a potential government shutdown, which is tied to all of these spending priorities. Joe and Savannah.
Monica and Raph, thank you both. Appreciate it.
We are now joined by Dan Arbel. He's a senior fellow at the Center for Middle East Policy at the Brookings Institute in Washington. Dan, thank you very much for joining us this morning. So President Biden met earlier, as we've mentioned, as we've showed these pictures, with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu soon after landing in Tel Aviv. Obviously, with the backdrop of so much happening and outrage also unfolding this morning. Explain to us the importance of his trip there and what you think his message should be while on the ground in these meetings.
Yeah, it's a historic visit of a president in Israel during time of war. It's the first time that this is happening. So in terms of showing solidarity with Israeli people and the Israeli government, this is something unprecedented. And so Israelis are just ecstatic and enthusiastic about it and are very much appreciating this. Obviously, it gives Israel, sends the message that the U.S. stands by Israel, is not tying Israel's hands with whatever Israel wants to do, at the same time providing every military item that Israel will need for this offensive that it's planning to do right after probably the president leaves, sort of a continuation of the operation, but on the ground this time.
So diplomatically speaking, how does this Gaza hospital blast impact President Biden's trip?
Well, it's a diplomatic blunder, of course, because he got on the plane, as your correspondent has mentioned, and this happened while he was there, while he was on Air Force One, leading to the cancellation of a very important summit for Biden that was scheduled in Amman, Jordan, with the King of Jordan, with Egyptian President Sisi, and with the Palestinian Authority's president. So the fact that there is no follow-up to his Israel visit complicates things for the Biden and his administration, as they're trying to show, first of all, that while they stand with Israel, they are looking for a resolution of this conflict, and they do support a humanitarian effort to create a humanitarian corridor and to help many distressed and Palestinians that are innocent Palestinians that are suffering as a result of this conflict.
Dan, as we know, the Jordan portion of the president's trip that was going to include meeting with Palestinian leadership was canceled following this explosion. How important will it be at some point for President Biden to meet also with Palestinian leaders?
It will be extremely important. Look, Anthony Blinken, when he was there last week, met with Mahmoud Abbas, the leader of the Palestinian Authority president, and it will be important for Biden to do so. Palestinians need reassuring. And Biden's message was very clear. Hamas does not represent all Palestinians. And there are many Palestinians there who are out there who want peace, who want coexistence, who do not support this terrorist nature of Hamas. And therefore, I think Biden needs to address them. I believe that he will do so when the time is right. Obviously, after the explosion in the hospital, it created complications. So it's pushing it down the road, but it will happen eventually, I believe.
All right, Dan Arbel, thank you very much for joining us this morning and giving us your expertise.
More now on that deadly hospital explosion in Gaza. Health officials there say several hundred people were killed. Hundreds more were injured. Officials in Gaza and Israel, as we've been reporting, are blaming each other for the blast. Gaza journalist Akram al-Sadri is at a different hospital in Gaza and has this report.
Palestinians at large are outraged by the latest incident of targeting the Baptist hospital in the Gaza Strip. The number of people killed, the magnitude, the nature of the place that was targeted, including the fact that this is a place of a spiritual, religious value and also of a service value because it provides service to a large number of Palestinians, and also it was a shelter for thousands of Palestinian IDPs, refugees who are seeking safety in that place. That shook the consciences of the Palestinians, that made them feel that insecurity is prevailing and that there is no safe haven. They were sure that there was no safe haven in Gaza for the past few days, but this is another evidence that there is no safe haven in the Gaza Strip. Israel from one side and Hamas and the Palestinian faction from the other side were exchanging accusations about that. There's no formal statement made by the Palestinian resistance on that particular issue, but the matter of fact that a rocket, according to the expert, a rocket that hit and killed 900 people cannot be a Palestinian rocket. This is the argument that we hear and from the Palestinian side. The magnitude, the explosive, the impact, the number of people killed are all indicating that, according to the expert, that Israeli occupation is the one party responsible for that situation. The community, the medical community in Gaza, the people in Gaza, people are also feeling a deepening feel of insecurity now, accompanied by the anger resulting from that incident and also fear from whatever is coming. They see that as one more step towards pushing Palestinians more toward the south, towards Egypt, for the forced displacement program that they see in place. The medical community has already been struggling now with the loss of one hospital that became out of the service, which is the Baptist Hospital. There is an increased burden on the existing hospitals that were announced to be falling apart, that were announced to be collapsing under the heavy burden resulting from the influx of injured people, and also they don't have places to save the bodies. In the Baptist Hospital, there was a conference that was organized by doctors and by paramedics, and around them and in front of them there were hundreds of bodies of people who were killed, and they do not know where to store them. So catastrophic situation that is getting even more catastrophic, and people of Gaza are overwhelmed and saddened.
All right, Akram al-Sadri, thank you so much and continue to stay safe. Let's bring in NBC News military analyst, Lieutenant General Steph Twitty. Thank you for joining us. So we do want to talk more about the hospital blast in Gaza, which killed hundreds. Israel has denied responsibility, blamed Palestinian militants, but Israel doesn't have anyone actually on the ground in Gaza to investigate this. So my question is, how is something like this investigated? Will the U.S. know definitively who's responsible?
Well, what you have to do is something called a crater analysis. And in that crater analysis, you're looking to determine how wide the crater is, how deep it is, which way the projectile came from, and you hope to find residue from that particular bomb. In this case here, the Israelis do not have anyone on the ground, so they have to rely on the video feed in order to determine the things that I just talked about. That's going to take some time. They have come out with some video feed. That video feed is blurry. And so we'll see what comes through their investigation through the video feed. After they conduct that investigation, of course, they'll have to brief their military leaders and their political leaders. And I expect a statement will come out here in short order here on the findings of that investigation.
So knowing that northern Gaza, as we're seeing with this, is not completely void of Palestinian civilians or many people who are unable to leave hospitals, who need that military treatment or are even sheltering in those places, and seeing just how devastating military activity can still be in that area, even after that evacuation order, how much does that complicate a potential ground invasion? I mean, both from a tactical perspective, but also as we see the reaction and the outrage to something like this spread?
Yes, there's two pieces to your question. First of all, whenever you fight an urban battle, unfortunately, these combatants will be impacted by this. And so sadly, we're dealing with a situation here where we have the people involved in this conflict. And that's when you have people involved, you're going to have casualties. And so you're seeing the aftermath of what is to come when a ground war starts. It's just going to spiral out of control if we don't get the people migrated down south in this conflict.
All right. Lieutenant General Steph Twitty, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We appreciate your time.
Let's bring in Hagar Shamali. She is the host of Oh My World on YouTube and the former NSC director for Syria and Lebanon. Hagar, as always, it's great to have you with us. So if we could just, of course, start on this big news this morning, your assessment of this massive explosion at the Gaza hospital that killed hundreds of people, as well as what's sort of coming out in terms of the finger pointing and what is being claimed as evidence for who has done this. What do you make of this?
You know, when this originally happened, my first thought was that it's hard to lie about something like this, actually, because ultimately this information is knowable. It's provable. It's not something that one person can lie about and then hide the evidence. And, you know, it's hard when you're dealing with situations of war, mistakes often happen. You've seen it in Ukraine as well, by the way. So it's not implausible that a rocket was fired by Palestinian Islamic Jihad. That is a terrorist organization. I wouldn't believe a lot of what they say, by the way. But that one was fired by them and then fell mistakenly. We've seen that happen in many other wars. And the thing is, I think, if anything, if this highlights anything, it's that it's the catastrophe that is war. It's how ugly it is, how the tragedy of it is that the majority of people who die are innocent civilians. But the fact is that when I saw it, my view was that I didn't see why Israel would lie about it, because it's knowable information that the U.S. will do its own independent assessment of. And when I saw President Biden come out and say that it appears to have been the case, that it wasn't Israel, I'm inclined to believe him.
Hagar, we're also reporting this morning a senior Hamas official telling NBC News the group is willing to release some hostages held captive on the condition Israel stops bombing Gaza. How realistic is that? In your mind, where do things stand with the hostages right now? How could that situation possibly come to an end?
Well, it's not surprising that they're gonna try and offer that exchange, because that's why they take hostages in general, right? These are their bargaining chips, and for that reason, by the way, they're going to try and keep them alive. But it's a bit difficult. It's a bit difficult because they're basically telling Israel, okay, you stop bombing us, and we'll give you folks in exchange, hostages in exchange. But by the way, we're going to keep lobbing rockets at you. And while the Iron Dome is quite successful at intercepting rockets, it has an 85 to 90% success rate. Some rockets are going through, and so it puts Israel as well in a difficult position. Now, we also knew that it would be that hostages complicate things. I don't expect Israel to stop its strikes in exchange for hostages. At the same time, I don't know how successful a ground assault will be in retrieving hostages. It is a very, very dangerous game. I would view negotiations as a more likely outcome.
Hagar, we've also now seen U.S. authorities issue a do not travel alert to Lebanon amid ongoing cross-border tensions with Israel there. We've seen towns along that northern Israeli border evacuated as this unfolds. How concerned are you about this conflict spreading to Lebanon or getting other countries in the region involved?
Yes, I'm actually very surprised. It's actually only about 5 days ago that I told my own family in Lebanon that they should get out. And that the reason that they should get out, by the way, is not because I thought that war would hit where they are, but because things in Lebanon can turn upside down in 24 hours. It did when the last war between Israel and Lebanon happened in 2006. It was 24 hours before all mayhem broke out. And then the problem is the airports close. Everything shuts down, and then people can't get out. And then the U.S. government has to, or they have to coordinate massive evacuations because there are so many U.S. citizens there. So that's, I've told my own family already. Numerous airline companies have canceled flights, and so I would agree with that. Not because I think war would spread, but I expect clashes, additional clashes in the south, and then for things to shut down.
All right, Hagar Shamawi, thank you as always for joining us.
Coming up, new legal trouble for Alec Baldwin.
Why the actor could soon be charged again in connection to that fatal movie set shooting.
But first, another setback for Republicans after Congressman Jim Jordan failed to secure enough support to become Speaker of the House. So what happens now? We're going to dig in next. Back now with the latest on the fight for the House speakership.
That's right. Later this morning, the House of Representatives will hold another vote after Congressman Jim Jordan failed to get the 217 votes he needed to secure the role yesterday.
NBC News congressional correspondent Julie Sirkin joins us now. So, Julie, Jim Jordan failed to get the 217 votes needed yesterday to secure the speakership. I feel like this is turning into a reality show. So, another vote scheduled today, but there really is no sign he has the votes, right?
Yeah, no, if anything, overnight it might have gotten worse for Jim Jordan. And you're right, this is literally like Groundhog Day over and over again. This time last week, remember, we were talking about a completely different candidate for Speaker. Right. Yesterday, Jim Jordan lost about 20 votes on that first ballot. They were going to take another vote later in the day, but Jim Jordan wanted to buy himself some more time to try to pressure some of those holdouts to come around and support him today. The problem is, though, while he might have been able to pick off one or two more votes, he could have lost more, as some of those moderates even who voted for Jordan yesterday decided, wait a minute, maybe I'll vote against him now that it doesn't look like he has the votes to get the gavel anyway.
Julie, what are the objections that some Republicans have over voting for Representative Jordan? What are you hearing?
Well, there's a couple of them, and they're mostly stemming from those moderate those vulnerable Republicans, especially those in districts that were won by President Biden in 2020. They say Jim Jordan, the chairman of the Judiciary Committee, the person who's pursuing the impeachment inquiry against President Biden, who's investigating his son Hunter, who sort of cemented his career in Congress as a flamethrower, who tried to get in the side of leadership for more than a decade. Now they see him as somebody who's jockeying for power. But there are a couple of factors here, right? On one hand, he's too conservative, too far right. On the other, he was leading an all-out pressure campaign, including from some members of the hard-right media, to try and get some of these moderate members to vote for him. Here's one of those moderates, Carlos Jimenez of Florida. Take a listen to what he said.
I'm not supporting Jim Jordan. I'm supporting Kevin McCarthy. I think Kevin McCarthy was the choice of the conference. 96% of us voted to maintain him as Speaker. So, you know, for me, I don't know why we're settling. We should go back to what we had.
So you heard from him. He wants McCarthy to get the speakership. Of course, McCarthy himself has said many times it's going to be Jim Jordan. But Jimenez has also said that he doesn't like the tactics Jordan has used to try and get some of that pressure going on moderates. He said that a real leader has followers and doesn't pressure followers to follow suit, essentially.
Julie, let's talk about the impact this is having on Congress's ability to get things done. At the top of the hour, we talked about the fact President Biden plans to ask for about $100 billion in aid for Israel, but that can't happen. Nothing can really happen without a speaker, right?
No, absolutely nothing. I mean, they can't even hold a moment of silence on the floor, let alone pass a package the size of this one. And this is really important. It doesn't only include aid for Israel. It also includes aid for Ukraine, aid for Taiwan, and some funding for the border, which certainly Republicans as well as Democrats really want to see go through. The thing is, that request is expected to come by the end of this week when President Biden gets back from Tel Aviv. By the end of this week is only a couple of days away. We're already on Wednesday. It doesn't look likely that there will be a Speaker of the House. There are some alternative options that some Republicans are thinking about now, because it doesn't look like it'll be Jordan. And then if not Jordan, who?
All right, Julie Sirkin. We'll be talking more about this.
So much to keep talking about.
For how long. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, you better keep your umbrellas handy for the rest of the week because rain is expected for a lot of the country.
Yeah, that's because it's going to be a weekend, and therefore weekend equals rain. Angie Lassman is here with the forecast. Angie.
Listen, I don't make the rules, guys. I'm just telling you what I know. And what I know is actually today across parts of the Northeast and most of the East, really, it's going to be a nice day. But you're right. The umbrellas are going to be needed for that area here as we head into tomorrow and, unfortunately, the weekend. Today, though, across parts of the Midwest and the Great Lakes, you're going to want to have the umbrella for sure. We'll see some sunshine elsewhere across the country, but this is the storm system that we're going to watch to impact the Great Lakes, the Midwest over the short term, and then eventually the Northeast over the long term. Here's what we're dealing with right now. Some of these rain showers working through portions of the upper Midwest and working their way a little closer to the Great Lakes. That's where we'll find this system as we get into tomorrow. So preparing for your Thursday across places like Michigan and Detroit, Cincinnati, Chicago, you're all going to have to deal with some of these showers working through ahead and along this front. This will even stretch as far south as the Tennessee Valley. So we're going to see some rain across that region here in the short term. We move into Friday, rounding out the work week, and there's the rain working its way into portions of the Northeast, New England, stretching down to the Mid-Atlantic. We'll see most of that rain kind of spreading its way east as the system works its way east as well. Now, when we're looking ahead to the weekend, unfortunately, guys, it does look like the I-95 weekend jinx continues. We're coining that term because it just feels, you know, unfair at some times when we look at the forecast each weekend in places like New York. 8 of the last 10 weekends have been rainy. 8 of the last 10 weekends in Boston and Philadelphia, too. Not quite as many in Washington, D.C., but still, we're going to have another one to add to the tally. We've got that storm system that will work up the I-95 corridor and leave us with some cloudy and even rainy conditions. I say cloudy because at points you'll get some dry spots, but it's not going to be nice by any means. That goes for Sunday, too. We'll see some showers lingering, especially in northern New England. And behind that, even if it's not raining, it's going to be quite windy. So that'll be something that we'll have to watch for Sunday. When we're talking about the highest rainfall totals, it looks like northern New England will have maybe 3/4 of an inch. About another 1/2 inch is expected for New York. As we get through the weekend, Philadelphia will pick up about 1/4 of an inch. But guys, I'm sorry.
We don't blame you.
You are going to hate me for saying this, but I have somehow missed all of those weekends.
Oh.
So I'm kind of like, get out of here. Rain. I'll stay in and watch a movie. I don't know. I guess
send it all
travel.
over her.
Yeah.
All
just all over Savannah's house.
Exactly. All right.
Thanks, Angie.
New footage released by the Pentagon shows a series of what the Pentagon is calling risky encounters with Chinese aircraft over the last 2 years.
That's right. NBC News foreign correspondent Janice Mackey-Frayer has the latest on that and other world headlines. Hey, Janice, good morning.
Hey, good morning. We begin with declassified video out of the Pentagon that shows 180 intercepts of U.S. warplanes by Chinese aircraft in the Indo-Pacific region in the last 2 years alone. That's more than the total for the previous decade. The Pentagon says it's a trend that is, quote, coercive and risky. The images and videos were released ahead of a Pentagon report on China's military power. Foxconn, the electronics giant based in Taiwan that probably made your iPhone, is teaming up with NVIDIA to build AI factories. What's an AI factory? Well, it's kind of like a data center that manufactures intelligence. So stuff like self-driving cars can be even smarter. Now, Foxconn says that it wants to do with chips and software what it did with hardware like computers and smartphones. And finally, The Matrix is getting reimagined in a very big way as a live show, a dance show at that, in Manchester, England. For the uninitiated, The Matrix was a movie released in 1999 starring Keanu Reeves as a hacker who was told that AI had conquered humanity. Some of the action scenes that the movie became famous for have inspired the dance scenes in the live show. So red pill or blue pill, you choose. It's on stage until early November.
So just a bunch of people doing
yeah, it seems very difficult to perform live anything similar to the movie. Interesting.
Thanks, Janice. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Well, coming up, over 1,000 people have been arrested in the aftermath of the January 6th Capitol insurrection.
And this morning, we are getting new insight into how the FBI and intelligence agencies were able to track them all down. Our own Ryan Riley breaks it down for us next.
Welcome back. The Pennsylvania woman who was seen smashing a window with an axe during the January 6th insurrection was sentenced to federal prison yesterday. Court documents show 43-year-old Rachel Powell, seen here, was given nearly 5 years in prison for her involvement in the attack on the Capitol. According to court documents, prosecutors said Powell was, quote, an active and enthusiastic participant. Powell says that she is deeply ashamed of her actions.
Our colleague Ryan Riley outlined how the FBI and other intelligence agencies gathered evidence with the help of online tipsters. They're called sedition hunters. And that's the title of his book, his new book, which is out right now. We have Ryan joining us for more on the book and really these ongoing trials against January 6th rioters. So Ryan, talk to us about Rachel Powell for a moment. That pink hat picture, how did it lead really to the creation of this book? And what have you learned about her and some of the other rioters?
Yeah, that's really what sort of kicked it all off for me. I sort of made a Twitter joke afterwards because there's video of her on a bullhorn, and she was nicknamed Bullhorn Lady. And she sort of looks like she's leading sort of a tour of the Capitol in some ways as this window is smashed out on January 6th. She's on that bullhorn telling them sort of to coordinate together. And it was almost like she was a chaperone for an 8th grade field trip saying, we should probably coordinate together if we're going to take this building. It was sort of that unmistakable tone as a parent that I know when you're sort of frustrated with your kids. So I sort of made a joke that, you know, this was going to lead to both criminal charges and a PTA resignation. As it turned out, Rachel Powell is a mother of 8 and a grandmother of 6, and she was arrested right afterwards. I got a tip very early on from this mysterious account saying that she had been ID'd, basically that they were trying to get this information to the FBI, etc. And very soon I sort of got into this world of sedition hunters as they started playing a really huge role in this investigation and have really aided in hundreds of these charges that have now been brought over more than 1,100 people.
Yeah, and you actually said in your book, quote, I've covered the Justice Department for more than a decade, and I'd talked with FBI informants before, but none of them hold a candle to the impact the sedition hunters have had. Such a statement. I mean, tell us more about what you learned about them, about how they work while investigating for your book. It sounds just kind of like a new type of detective.
Exactly. And, you know, I think one of the main themes here is that the Hollywood image that we have of the FBI isn't the reality of the FBI. When you see sort of these shows and, you know, computer enhance and zoom in and organizing all of this digital information just isn't really how the FBI works. They're really actually kind of really behind on technology. In fact, up until a couple of years ago, their emails were formatted as ic.fbi.gov. And that didn't stand for something cool like intelligence community. It actually stood for Internet Cafe from the days of AOL and dial-up.
Wow.
And a lot of these sleuths have actually had to have FBI agents come to their homes to pick up USB drives because the FBI won't use any of these sort of file sharing websites that are so common today. There's one of the informants right before January 6th was actually told that he could burn something to a DVD, you know, like this was still the Bush administration or something. So I think they're really just sort of shattering this conception of what the FBI does. And I think a lot of the sleuths have been surprised by how far behind they were to what they were doing online and sort of organizing in these online forums and very quickly bringing together a lot of this information.
So all that kind of begs the question, how prepared was the FBI for the attack on the Capitol? And what are some of the problems within the Bureau that need to be addressed or have been addressed since this happened?
You know, political bias is definitely a component of this. Obviously, it's a conservative-leaning organization, despite what we've heard over the past, say, 6 years or so coming from Donald Trump. But, you know, overall, I think the technological things are one of the main obstacles for the FBI. You know, the salary scale just isn't the same as you can compete with in the private sector. So if you're coming out and you're a really big computer whiz, you know, unless you really just have a really hard dedication to wanting to work for the FBI, you're leaving money on the table by joining the organization. Not only that, they have, you know, really strict, say, marijuana protocols, right? Like that's something that is pretty common today, but you cannot smoke marijuana when you're at the FBI, even though they've relaxed the rules a little bit because that was such an impediment. Now you only have to give it up for a year before you actually sign up to join. But that's an obstacle, for example. I think a lot of these things, they're just really behind the ball on a lot of this.
Quickly, Ryan, before we let you go, just give us an update on the outstanding cases against people who were part of the insurrection. How close are we to seeing an end to prosecutions?
So the way to think of this is on a 5-year timeline. So we're already halfway through this investigation. The statute of limitations expires in early 2026. We're never going to get to charging all of the people who were inside the Capitol that day or even attacked police officers, because that is over 3,000 people and only 1,100 have been charged today. But these cases are continuing to trickle in. The sleuths say the FBI really needs to turn it up, because they've even identified more than 100 people who are on the FBI's most wanted list for Capitol rioters today who've still not yet been arrested.
Ryan Riley, thank you so much. Congratulations on your book. A fascinating topic. Also, obviously, he's very funny, so it must be great. Sedition hunters, Ryan Riley, congrats. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Ryan. All right, Alec Baldwin could be charged again in connection to that fatal shooting on the set of the movie Rust back in 2021.
Yeah, two sources familiar with the matter told NBC News that New Mexico prosecutors intend to recharge Baldwin with involuntary manslaughter. One of the sources says a grand jury will hear Baldwin's case next month. It comes 5 months after special prosecutors dismissed the same charge, citing new facts in the case. Baldwin has maintained his innocence throughout since the shooting occurred.
NBC News legal analyst Danny Savalos joins us now. So, Danny, how are prosecutors able to bring back the same charges faced 5 months ago? What has changed?
You guys know my feeling on this case.
Right.
And I've already prepared my closing argument. You guys want to hear it? Here's how it's going to go, because this is going to be a not guilty. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you know who thinks Alec Baldwin is not guilty? The prosecution. Here's why. They got a report 5 months ago that this firearm may have been modified, so it could have gone off without pulling the trigger. And did they dismiss it? Did they say, that's a lousy report? No, they dismissed the charges because they believed he was not guilty. But the prosecution wasn't finished. They decided, well, what if we send it to another expert? What if we get it examined by somebody else who will tell us what we want to hear, which is that Alec Baldwin is somehow responsible? Well, they did that. Now they got the report they wanted. But guess what? Too bad. So sad. That original report is already out there. And I can show you.
Doubt, right?
Well, then let's start with that. And then you have two more little points. They're charging, and the armor is going to trial very soon, Hannah Gutierrez-Reed. They're charging her with involuntary manslaughter, not as a co-conspirator, but they're saying she's responsible. So what's her percentage fault? Let's subtract that from Alec Baldwin. Then you had the assistant director, David Halls. He pleaded guilty to unsafe handling of a firearm. So he's responsible. How much percentage do you assign to that? Subtract it from Alec Baldwin. What's left for Alec Baldwin? But, you know, you don't even need to do that percentage analysis because the government, the state, doesn't even believe he's guilty.
I have whiplash from this. It's so confusing every time we see that there's new news here. What are you going to be watching for when this is brought to a grand jury?
Well, look, here's the thing. Grand juries, a lot of evidence can come in. It's the prosecution show. The mere fact that they may get an indictment at the grand jury doesn't tell me a whole lot. It's just a probable cause hearing. It doesn't tell me very much about whether or not he's actually guilty. So don't be surprised if they can indict him again. They did it before. They obviously can do it again. But look for this case to falter, as it already has several times before.
So according to two sources familiar with the matter, there had been recent discussions of a plea deal to a petty misdemeanor that was rescinded over the weekend. Reaction to that? Thoughts on that?
Look, if Baldwin's my client and it's a misdemeanor or a traffic ticket, maybe I'd consider pleading him. But otherwise, go to trial. This is one you can win. And it's easy for the lawyer to say that because I don't have to live it like the client. Clients, it's tough to live through a trial, so I understand pleading guilty to some lesser charge. But this is a case the defense can win.
All right. Danny Savalos, as always, we appreciate your analysis.
This one, I can't be neutral on.
The charges have changed. Danny's opinion is not.
I like hearing this, though, because I think for most people at home, they're like, what? It seems like it should. So it makes me feel like we're in sync.
Good.
And you're smart. So
well.
That's good. Danny, thanks.
Thank you. Still ahead this morning, new insight into the unseen impact of wildfires.
Our Dr. Akshay Sile explains why, despite the flames being gone, their impact on your health could linger on. Stay with us.
Welcome back. Some financial headlines now, starting off with a gloomy forecast for the future of United Airlines profits.
CNBC's Bertha Coombs is with us this morning with that and other news. Hey, Bertha, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Joe and Savannah. United Airlines actually reported strong profits for its third quarter. People traveled in droves this summer, but United's setting record for service to Europe and Asia as more Americans fly overseas, but the company is now warning of weaker results the rest of the year due to rising jet fuel prices and the suspension of flights to Israel. Fuel prices have risen about a third since July, tracking the increase in oil prices. Microsoft and Amazon have been bitter business rivals, but I guess they're becoming frenemies. The tech giants are close to announcing a mega deal. Business Insider reports Amazon is committing more than $1 billion to license Microsoft 365 cloud software for 1 million of its corporate and frontline workers. Amazon will upgrade from traditional Microsoft Office software to the cloud productivity suite Amazon had previously been reluctant to use. Microsoft's cloud products overall, given the rivalry between AWS and Azure as they compete for corporate cloud business. Apple, meantime, has unveiled a new and cheaper pencil. The latest model costs $79, and it pairs and charges with a USB-C cable. You can get your hands on one in November. It's compatible with every iPad that has a USB-C port. Apple says new features include pixel-perfect accuracy and tilt sensitivity. However, you can't double tap to change drawing tools, and Apple is not including free engraving on this version. I didn't know that you could get a pencil engraved, but I guess some people like that.
I'm sure they do. It's whose pencil it is.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, Bertha,
Yeah.
thank you so much.
Well, now it's time for our weekly medical checkup. We have new insight into just some of the effects following those wildfires we saw earlier this year.
Plus, if you're the type of person to grab a few extra Z's after your alarm goes off in the morning, we have some good news for you. Perhaps it could be a good thing.
My husband is the worst news. I'm like, you're ruining your night. NBC News medical fellow Dr. Akshay Sal joins us now for more on these medical headlines. Good morning. Always great to have you with us. So let's start on what we just mentioned about wildfires. We remember a bad season, and there's this new report out of Colorado that finds that smoke can linger in your home way after the fire has actually been extinguished. How does that impact you?
Really interesting, guys. So what they did was these researchers took a fake house and they blew smoke into it. And what they found was, or what they were looking for was to see, was that smoke lingering? And it turns out it can. Parts of that smoke can actually linger in things like your blinds, your couch, just sort of household things that linger around, forming these reservoirs, things that can sort of keep emitting those harmful effects of smoke, which could potentially affect people with asthma, lung disease. But the good news is there is something you can do about it, because the researchers not only did that, they said, how can we get rid of that? And it's things you should be doing anyway, right? It's vacuuming, it's cleaning those things. So doctor's orders, guys, really centering around keeping your house clean. You want to be vacuuming, using all-purpose cleaner, getting rid of those smoke reservoirs, because not only are you getting rid of dust and everything else, you could potentially be helping your lung health as well.
All right, let's talk about snoozing. It can actually be beneficial, it turns out, to some people to hit that snooze alarm a few times. So who usually does this, and how might it help?
So who usually does this, Joe? Surprise, surprise, it's young people. I mean, I can't even remember the last time I went to work.
That makes me young, yay.
You guys have an early start time. I have an early start time. I haven't woken up without a snooze button in years. It's just, sometimes I even set my alarm earlier so I can snooze and wake up. But the good news is, Joe, with this study that came out, it found that, they put people in the lab, and they found that people who do that snooze button, who use it, they tested their memory and sort of attention problems afterwards. There wasn't really any difference. If anything, the people who snoozed actually did better immediately upon waking up. But about 40 minutes after, the difference sort of leveled off. So the doctor's orders here, guys, don't be afraid to hit that snooze button 1 time, 2 times. You just want to keep it within that 30-minute window. So try it out, but it may not, of course, be best for everyone.
Yeah, how about an hour and a half of it, though? That's it, right? It's too much. Yeah. I'm just happy I'm up and out before it even starts every morning. All right, a new poll from C.S. Mott Children's Hospital in Michigan. It warns that some parents might be unintentionally restricting their child's independence. How's something like that happening? What are some tips for parents, and what does that do to a kid?
So it centers around this term that, admittedly, I'd never heard of. It's called helicopter parenting. You guys heard of this? Yeah. So it's essentially, it's exactly what it sounds like for those who don't know. It's your parent sort of hovers around you like a helicopter would and kind of takes control of many aspects of your life. And so, the reason this is concerning, just because independence is a really big part of that child development. About 1 in 4 parents are actually criticizing parents for not supervising a child, so criticizing them for essentially not being a helicopter parent. But the reason, guys, this is so concerning is that if you are a child of a helicopter parent, you could have lower test scores, you could have more likely to use substances that you may not should not be using. So the doctor's orders here, guys, really let your child speak up, turn off that helicopter, let them fly, encourage solo time, a good starting point, let them order their own food at restaurants.
That's a
great
good starting
tip.
point right there. I mean, I'm pre-helicopter parent, so to me it's sort of fascinating to see because we just played in the street all night and no one cared. Right. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I mean, it was just a completely different thing.
Oh, yeah.
And now there's play dates and it's just incredibly different. Look, I turned out fine, so I didn't get hit by a car. It's all good.
Dr. Style, thank you very much.
Thank
Always
you.
good to have you with us. Coming up on the record, pop star Britney Spears opens up about her life in the limelight.
What she is saying about her relationship with Justin Timberlake, the bombshell ahead of her upcoming memoir. We're back now with a major revelation from pop icon Britney Spears.
In an excerpt from her new book called The Woman in Me, provided to People magazine, Spears said she had an abortion as a teenager after a pregnancy with Justin Timberlake. For more on this, let's bring in Callan Rosenblatt. She's NBC News' youth and internet culture reporter. Great to have you with us. Good morning, Callan. So this abortion bombshell is really what everybody is talking about so far in what we've seen from the book. What exactly does she say happened, and how does she feel about it now?
Good morning, Savannah and Joe. So Britney Spears talks about being deeply in love with Justin Timberlake at the time. And although they weren't really ready for this, she said she'd always anticipated starting a family with him and that they were going to share their futures together. So when he said that he wasn't ready to be a father, she said it was a really difficult decision for her. She said she has since agonized over this decision and that it's been a really big challenge for her. And fans are really empathizing with what she says in this book about being really conflicted about having this abortion after falling pregnant in her either early teens or her late teens or her early 20s.
And has Justin Timberlake responded at all to the book or to this claim?
People magazine had reached out to Justin Timberlake, but no reps have responded yet for him.
All right. So the Free Britney movement, of course, was a huge part of her being released from her conservatorship. How are they reacting to this revelation?
Yeah, so fans online are really heartbroken for Britney. They say, Justin Timberlake has in the past been under scrutiny for some of his treatment around Britney Spears or how some of that relationship shook out. So now fans are really reassessing some of the music from that time. They're saying they're really heartbroken over the song Cry Me a River. They feel like that might have been in poor taste. They're reassessing Britney Spears' old songs, the song Everything, and wondering if that possibly was about this really hard decision. Some are saying that they felt, the couple was very young at the time and that maybe this was for the best. But many people are expressing their heartbreak for Britney Spears having this decision to make and living with it afterward.
And I know also it sounds like Britney reached out to some fans through social media, responded to them, and said that she struggled to write this book. Tell us what we know that she's told some fans.
Yeah, so earlier in the summer, Britney Spears posted and said that she needed a lot of therapy to be able to write this book. And in a recent post, she even said that writing this book for her was almost like going back through a yearbook. Some memories were really happy and beautiful, and some were really painful. So this was delving back into deep wounds to be able to tell her story in her own words.
And remind us, Callan, the book, when's it coming out?
October 24th.
October 24th. So we're going to finally hear about it next week. Do we have any idea, are we going to hear some more things dropping? I feel like she's probably not doing any interviews or anything that we've heard about. So just going to be excerpts and things like that? Or what's sort of the theory of what we'll see in the next few days?
As far as I can tell, it looks like we'll be hearing from Britney through her social media. I haven't seen any, I haven't seen any promises that there's going to be interviews about the book, but I am deeply looking forward to seeing her tell her story in her own words when I get my hands on the copy of this book.
Absolutely. Obviously, this was quite a bombshell in its first excerpt only, so we'll see if maybe there are more in there. Callan, thank you very much. I appreciate you joining us this morning.
And that is going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now.
But the news continues right now.
Top of the hour, let's get to the very latest in the Middle East this morning. America's campaign of solidarity with Israel is ramping up. President Biden beginning an incredibly high-stakes trip overseas in Tel Aviv, meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in the midst of a brutal conflict. The visit is a key show of support and comes in the wake of tragedy striking a hospital in Gaza City yesterday, with hundreds of people now dead from a violent explosion. Israeli and Gazan officials blaming each other for the devastation. Hamas has also blamed Israel. And as protests over the blast erupt across the region, a possible olive branch from Hamas this morning now saying it would release some hostages if Israel stops bombing Gaza. We have team coverage across the globe of President Biden's visit and the latest on the ground. Good morning. Good to have you with us. I'm Joe Fryer.
And I'm Savannah Sellers. We begin this morning with President Biden's dramatic show of support for Israel. The president arrived earlier this morning in Tel Aviv, where he was greeted by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. His trip comes as Arab leaders cancel their meetings with him and as Hezbollah calls for a day of what they are calling unprecedented anger. NBC Nightly News anchor Lester Holt kicks off our coverage.
President Biden visiting an active war zone on a risky mission to restart diplomacy. It hasn't been easy. Events quickly overtaking him, including the cancellation by Arab leaders of an important summit. Also today, Hezbollah calling for a day of unprecedented anger directed toward Israel and President Biden's visit.
President Joe Biden making a fraught wartime visit to a region on the brink. Biden meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, showing support and solidarity with the country.
I wanted to be here today for a simple reason. I wanted the people of Israel, the people of the world, to know where the United States stands.
After the massacre by Hamas that killed at least 1,400 Israelis and 31 Americans, Biden had planned to meet with key Arab leaders, including the Palestinian Authority president, in an effort to open humanitarian supply lines into Gaza. That summit now scrapped after a blast leveled a working hospital in southern Gaza Tuesday, leaving hundreds dead and hundreds more wounded.
I was deeply saddened and outraged by the explosion at the hospital in Gaza yesterday.
Each side blaming the other. The hospital explosion fueling protests raging around the Middle East. This morning, President Biden seeming to accept Israel's version of events.
It appears as though it was done by the other team.
The president still focused on the hostages being held by Hamas.
They've taken scores of people hostage, including children. You said, imagine what those children hiding from Hamas were thinking.
We spoke with the families of those being held, including the mother of Mia Shem, shown here in a video released by Hamas. We're not sure when the video was taken.
So when I saw her, I saw my baby alive. So at first I started to scream, and then I started to scream from happiness.
And with the parents of American hostage, Hirsch Goldberg, Poland.
We know he got on the truck himself without an arm, and that's it. Now, I don't know how to tie a tourniquet. I don't know how long it takes you to bleed out when you have a wound like that. It wasn't severed, it was blown off. He might have died in that truck. He may have never made it to Gaza.
All this, of course, against the backdrop of tanks amassed along the border here, the implication being that a major military offensive on the ground is still on the table. Let's send it back to you now.
Lester Holt, thank you very much.
We're joined now by Richard Haass, President Emeritus of the Council on Foreign Relations. He's also the author of the Bill of Obligations, The 10 Habits of Good Citizens. Richard, always good to have you with us and tap into your expertise. So what do you make so far of President Biden's trip? What's standing out to you?
Well, what's changed already is the trip is one-dimensional in the sense that he's only going to Israel. He no longer has the meeting with the Arab leaders, so it makes it more difficult for him to appear balanced. And then in his initial comments, he's been very supportive of Israel. And that's tricky right now. Before this hospital attack, I think it would have been easier to do it that way, be publicly supportive of Israel, and then privately urge the Israelis to be moderate in whatever they did in Gaza. Now it's very hard just to be supportive of Israel, the region, the world is going to look for signals that he's prepared to be, quote unquote, somewhat even-handed, unquote. And it's just made a difficult trip that much more difficult.
Yeah, especially as in addition, of course, to just what happened at the hospital, we're now seeing these protests erupt throughout the Middle East, right? So tell us, I mean, how could the president, especially with that lack of those meetings with other leadership, including what was planned Palestinian leadership, kind of balance that, support the needs of Israelis, be there for an ally, but then also be sensitive to Palestinians who are stuck in Gaza, as well as, of course, after we see these horrific images from the hospital?
Well, I think the focus is going to be to try to shape the Israeli response. Behind that is a desire to avoid seeing this conflict widen. The last thing the United States wants to see is Hezbollah start launching all sorts of rockets against Israel. We don't want to see the war widen to a U.S.-Iranian mini conflict amidst this. So I think, again, the principal focus of the president will probably be twofold. One is, as you suggest, on the hostages, to see whether you could get some out either as part of exchange or possibly you could have some of the hostages released and Israel would articulate either some pause or some limits on what it would do vis-a-vis Hamas. But Israel is going to prosecute the war against Hamas, and I think the focus of the president is going to be to go to the Israelis. You can target Hamas, but you've got to do it in a way that minimizes the impact on Gaza. And I think that'll be a big part of the conversation.
Yeah, so after this trip, then what does the president do in the region? What are some of the things he can try and do to reach those goals?
Look, I think this is going to go on for some time. The Israeli prime minister keeps talking about a long war. So what I just articulated doesn't change. You obviously want to get hostages out, however long it takes. You want to see Israel target and focus as exclusively and as finely as they can on Hamas to minimize civilian casualties. You want to signal Iran that it will be held accountable for anything Hezbollah does, and that's meant to limit exactly what Hezbollah might do. You can get on the telephone. You can send other officials to pick up a dialogue with Arab leaders. I think you urge the Israelis to get as much intelligence out as they can, demonstrating that it was not Israel that hit the hospital. So again, right now we're at the phase of this. I would call it you're trying to put out the fire. Later, if you succeed, you can think about more ambitious goals. But right now, you're trying to limit this.
All right, Richard Haasch, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We appreciate it. Staying with the situation in the Middle East, our chief foreign correspondent Richard Engel reports from the occupied West Bank on the aftermath of that deadly Gaza hospital blast that killed hundreds and the impact across the region.
We are in the Palestinian-run city of Ramallah on the West Bank. There were demonstrations here last night. More protests and potential clashes are expected to come later today after what Palestinian medical officials now say were 500 people killed in that explosion at a hospital in the Gaza Strip. Israel says those numbers are exaggerated and denies responsibility.
Rage is erupting across the Arab world. Thousands of protesters converged on the U.S. Embassy in Beirut.
We're here to let the Arab people wake up.
In Turkey, demonstrators rushed the Israeli consulate in Istanbul. They're all reacting to what Palestinians call a massacre, that explosion at the Al-Ahli hospital in Gaza City.
I heard an almighty shriek, followed by a large explosion. Part of the ceiling of the operating room fell.
Bodies can be seen laying on the ground. Children among the victims. Hamas says it was an Israeli airstrike. Israel emphatically denies that. The military saying the deadly explosion was caused by a Palestinian rocket that misfired, launched not by Hamas, but another Palestinian militant group in Gaza called Islamic Jihad, which says the accusation is false. Israel shared footage it claims to show the rocket heading toward Israel, then changing direction and crashing into Gaza.
We confirmed that there was no IDF fire by land, sea or air that hit the hospital.
The Israeli military says communication it intercepted prove Hamas knows Israel isn't responsible and is using the blast to stoke anger. If that's true or not seems to make little difference. This could be a tipping point, spreading the war across the Middle East. In Gaza, Hamas continues to hold hundreds of hostages, including Americans and other foreign nationals. We spoke to a senior Hamas official who says the group is willing to free civilians.
I'm sorry, could I just clarify this? You say you're willing to release all of the civilians, including the Israeli nationals, if there is a stopping?
Including the Israeli civilians and all the foreigners.
And what are you asking for in order to do that? Do you want the airstrikes to stop? Is that the condition?
To stop the aggression.
So that our viewers might hear that and say that this offer doesn't mean anything. That if you're not willing to carry it out, then it doesn't mean anything.
How? Well, if you stop the aggression, it can be implemented over the next hour.
Hamas is also holding Israeli soldiers. The group tells me in order to free them, it is asking for the release of all Palestinians held in Israeli jails.
All right, Richard, thank you so much.
Let's bring in Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis. He's a senior fellow and military expert at Defense Priorities and the host of Daniel Davis Deep Dive on YouTube. Thank you very much for joining us, as always. So first, your assessment of that devastating Gaza hospital blast we saw yesterday, and how anyone, but of course the U.S., our leadership, go about determining who is responsible.
Well, I think that's crucial that we do find out in some way authoritatively, if at all possible, because there's conflicting reports. There's also conflicting evidence because, like, the Palestinian rockets that they use are generally not powerful enough to cause such an explosion like that of that magnitude, whereas the Israeli ones are. But then we have this alleged, video showing that that it didn't come from Israel. So who knows? But as Richard Engel said, as far as the Arab public goes, it doesn't matter because no one will believe the Israeli side, and they all are believing that it was actually launched by Israel against the Palestinian people. And I also agree with Richard that this could be an inflection point. And I think this is really, really crucial because it already caused problems diplomatically with both Egypt and with Jordan. And if this spreads into Hezbollah, if they get so angry that they take action, then it could open up a second front on the Israeli war before they even launch into Gaza, making this extremely difficult.
Yeah, I mean, I want to ask further, just how could it impact the fighting going forward, keeping in mind, I guess, we don't know definitively which side is responsible, but could it change anyone's tactics or strategy at this point?
Well, what it has immediately done is that it has severed any possibility that Biden's personal visit here to maybe get Egypt to open their borders so that they could allow the foreigners out or some of the Palestinian people to get to safety. They now, Sisi categorically rejected any possibility of that. And, help that Jordan could have had, which is one of our biggest allies in the region and friends with Israel, is also shutting off any discussions about any help right now, as they've called for 3 days of mourning and a day of rage. So what is going to depend upon it, or what's going to happen now is the real question, because if it makes the Arab side much more angry, then it's going to cause more people to come to the aid of the Palestinian side.
So it's looking like, at least from what we've heard, that the U.S. will provide more military aid to Israel. So two questions here. What level of coordination do you think is currently taking place between the U.S. and Israel when it comes to their military? But then also, is there any chance that something like the hospital blast and the devastation and the carnage we saw there, no matter who is responsible, would that cause the U.S. to pull back at all?
It very well could. I think that's actually an important point to bring up, because you've even seen along most of the Western media that they're giving so much coverage to this. And in a sense, it doesn't matter who did it, because it matters that the Palestinian people are in the middle and getting killed by no matter who did it, whether it was Hamas, whether it was the Israeli side. They're the ones that are suffering in this, and this just gross level of human suffering. The hospitals 4 of them apparently are now out of fuel, so they can't even operate as hospitals. The food, according to some sources, is going to run out in 4 days, in water. And so the suffering could go even higher. And Americans and the Western people typically don't, support something that's going to harm innocent civilians.
Lieutenant Colonel Davis, we always appreciate you joining us. Thank you very much for being here today.
Thousands of Israeli troops, both active duty and reservists from around the world, are joining the fight against Hamas. And for one family, that sense of service runs deep. 5 brothers are all combat soldiers for Israel, and they're preparing to hit the front lines of war together. NBC News foreign correspondent Raf Sanchez has their story.
Everywhere across Israel, signs of an army heading to war. Some are active duty combat troops, others reservists putting their lives on hold.
I called up my commanders and I knew right away I have to tell my wife that I have to go.
We met Naftali on the Gaza border. Born in New York, he's lived in Israel since he was a baby. In peacetime, he's the father of 3 young girls and a doctor in Jerusalem.
I work with Arab doctors, with Jewish doctors, saving lives every day.
But now he's back in uniform, and in his family, he's not the only one.
The first brother and the second brother and the third until the 5th brother, we are all combat soldiers.
A literal band of brothers, all 5 preparing for war. For security reasons, the family asked we show only Naftali's face.
I can't even describe what my mom is feeling right now.
We drove into the desert towards the Israeli-Egyptian border, where we found Naftali's youngest brother, Shui.
I was actually born on Naftali's bar mitzvah, so I actually ruined his party.
Wow.
We're best friends.
He forgave you?
He forgave me, yeah.
At 21, he's the only one of the 5 brothers still in mandatory service.
It's important to be here right now.
I feel it's like the most important thing I ever did in my life.
2 other brothers, Bensi and Haim, are in the north, where Israel is exchanging fire with the Lebanese militant group Hezbollah.
We're a fast unit, combat unit, and usually the first ones to be in reserves.
The final brother, Yohanan, raced home from the U.S.
This whole thing caught me at 2 a.m. in New York whenever it all started. I didn't sleep all night.
Back to his duties as a tank platoon commander. Naftali's unit was securing Kfar Aza, one of the first communities overrun by Hamas terrorists. More than 50 civilians were killed here, including children.
And the horrific attacks that happen here cannot be answered in silence or in a weak response. This has to be a fierce response fighting the evil that you've seen here today.
The siblings giving each other strength from afar.
I see my brothers standing in the north, the south, everywhere. And I say, Shui, you're not alone. Look, your brothers are with you.
Sons of Israel and brothers in arms. Raf Sanchez, NBC News, Kfar Aza.
We've got much more to come on this hour of Morning News Now, including continuing coverage of the deadly hospital explosion in Gaza that has so far killed hundreds. We're going to hear from Israel's defense forces a little later in the show.
But first, we'll take you to Washington in that high-stakes race for House Speaker. What comes next after a failed vote for the gavel? Those stories and much more coming up after this. We are back now with the latest on the fight for the House speakership. Later this morning, House Republicans will once again try to elect a new speaker. Yesterday, ultra-conservative Congressman Jim Jordan flew well short of the 2017 votes needed to claim the gavel. NBC News senior Capitol Hill correspondent Garrett Haig joins us now with the very latest on this. Hey, Garrett, good morning.
Hey, Savannah, good morning. Guess what? It's still a mess on Capitol Hill, but the House is set to reconvene at 11 this morning for a second round of voting. After hours of private negotiations Tuesday and with frustrations growing among lawmakers, we may not be any closer to seeing a speaker elected today.
This morning, hard-right Ohio Republican Jim Jordan vowing to keep fighting for the speaker's gavel.
We got to have a speaker, and it can't be some deal with the Democrats. We're going to keep working.
Tuesday's failed vote was the first of any kind on the House floor since the ouster of former Speaker Kevin McCarthy 15 days ago. Backed by former President Trump and 199 of his GOP colleagues, Jordan still came up 17 votes short of the outright majority he needs to claim the speakership. 20 Republicans from across the geographic and ideological expanse of the GOP opposing him, from Colorado's Ken Buck.
I am concerned that Congressman Jordan has not agreed to say that Donald Trump lost the election and Joe Biden won the election.
To Florida's Carlos Jimenez.
I think Kevin McCarthy was the choice of the conference. 96% of us voted to maintain him as speaker.
And as Jordan and his allies scrambled overnight to lock down additional GOP votes, House Democrats say they're open to working with Republicans to select a speaker on a bipartisan basis, as long as that speaker is not Jim Jordan.
Paging my traditional Republican colleagues
It's time to get off the sidelines, break away from the extremists, get in the arena so we can find a bipartisan path forward.
And there are several anti-Jordan Republicans who've also complained about hardball tactics used by Jordan and his allies. Nebraska Republican Don Bacon, who opposed Jordan, sharing with NBC News some threatening texts that he says were sent to his wife anonymously, pressuring him to support Jordan. One of them even saying that her husband would never again hold elected office. Jordan's distanced himself from any of these tactics, but this pressure campaign against more moderate members is clearly backfiring. Savannah?
All right, Garrett Haig, thank you so much.
Some unseasonably mild temperatures could be hitting your area this week.
That means Angie Lastman is back to tell us about that with your Morning News Now weather. Hey, Angie.
Hey there, guys. Yeah, you're exactly right. We've got some really warm temperatures, especially across parts of the Southwest. That's where we're going to find some heat alerts today. You'll see temperatures feeling very summer-like. That is going to be mainly focused for the Southwest, but even mild conditions are going to remain for the middle of the country. We've got 90s on tap for folks in Texas today. Notice mid-70s as you move into portions of the Central Plains. And then, yes, we've got the rain that we are watching to impact folks in the Midwest and then eventually move to the Northeast here over the coming days. But in the meantime, nice day expected across most of the East. We'll see some more mild conditions across parts of the Southeast and plenty of sunshine in that area for the day today. Now, as we go ahead into tomorrow, it's a different story for some folks as we start to become a little unsettled. That stretches from the Midwest all the way down into portions of the Tennessee Valley. We'll have rain that we're going to track along this front that'll slowly but surely work its way east. That means by the time we get into Friday, we're talking about unsettled weather taking shape for folks in the Northeast, stretching down to the Mid-Atlantic. We'll see some moisture kind of developing and moving up the coast and leaving us with some really soggy conditions for folks as we get into even Saturday and Sunday in that region. When it's all said and done, I think through Saturday, we'll pick up another inch or maybe 2 inches of rain in those portions of northern New England. But either way, 1/4 of an inch to a 1/2 an inch is possible for the widespread area. But this is the spot that we're going to watch for potential with flash flooding. Notice we've got places like Portland, Caribou, Burlington, all included in that, stretching into New York as well. And that is just an early heads up for Saturday. Now, looking ahead to the weekend elsewhere, we're going to see the breezy conditions behind that system on Friday for folks in the plains. But we will see some partly cloudy skies. And notice it's still going to be like summer here as we wrap up the work week across parts of the Southwest. 90s out there, 80s out there. That goes for Texas, too. Low 90s with a whole lot of sunshine as you finish out your work week. And we could see some record highs lasting for that same region as we get into Saturday. Of course, we'll see more of those downpours across the Northeast for Saturday, as I mentioned. But the chilly temperatures will take shape for the Midwest. And then we'll finally see some of those showers and windy conditions start to wrap up as we get into the later parts of our
Then next weekend they'll be back, right?
Right as we can go back to work and stay in the office all day.
It's nice every day of the work week, and then the weekend comes around.
Oh, my gosh.
What's going on, guys?
Angie Lastman, thank you. No problem. Well, the Elon Musk-owned social platform X is dishing out some new charges overseas.
NBC News foreign correspondent Janice Mackey-Frayer has more on that and other world news. Janice, good morning.
Good morning. X, what we used to call Twitter, is charging new users in New Zealand and the Philippines $1 a year to use all the key features on the platform, like tweeting and retweeting and replies. It's part of a new trial by X to reduce spam and bot activity. Now, new accounts will also need to verify a phone number to prove they are real people who actually exist. The climate activist Greta Thunberg was arrested in London after joining hundreds of protesters near a 5-star hotel to denounce a meeting of fossil fuel executives with government ministers. Video footage shows Thunberg being bundled into the back of a police van. The 20-year-old Swedish activist called the conference, quote, a destructive search for profits. And finally, let's all raise a glass to the world's best bar. The top 50 list for 2023 was unveiled by industry critics, and it's rather diverse. Manhattan's Double Chicken Please came in at number 2. There were also winners in Miami and New Orleans. But the world's best bar, the best on the planet, is a small, intimate cocktail bar called Sips. It's in Barcelona, and it opened during the pandemic. So cheers to Sips for being the best bar in the world.
Double Chicken Please. I just Googled it. It's on the Lower East Side.
Oh, no, I haven't. Not too far from me, though. Yeah, gotta check it out.
All right.
Let's go.
Thanks, Janice. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well, coming up, more tough legal news for actor Alec Baldwin.
As prosecutors in New Mexico look to recharge him with involuntary manslaughter in connection to that film set shooting back in 2021. But do those prosecutors have a case? We're going to take a closer look next. All right, we're back with the new legal bombshell in the Rust movie shooting.
New Mexico prosecutors say they intend to recharge Alec Baldwin in the fatal shooting just 5 months after dropping charges against him. Baldwin has maintained his innocence since the shooting occurred. NBC News entertainment correspondent Chloe Melas broke this for us, and she joins us now on this. Hi, Chloe. Good to see you.
Good morning. Well, this is a fascinating story. Special prosecutors now telling NBC News that they do plan to recharge Alec Baldwin with involuntary manslaughter in the fatal 2021 movie set shooting of cinematographer Halyna Hutchins, citing new evidence that they believe makes him culpable for her death.
Nearly 2 years after Alec Baldwin fatally shot cinematographer Halyna Hutchins on the Rust movie set, a stunning new plot twist in the case. New Mexico prosecutors want to recharge the actor and producer with involuntary manslaughter. This after dismissing the same charge against Baldwin in April. The special prosecutor telling NBC News, based on our lengthy and detailed investigation, it is appropriate for a grand jury to make a decision on whether the case should proceed. Two sources familiar with the investigation say that prosecutors had recently discussed with Baldwin pleading to a lesser charge, but that offer was rescinded over the weekend. One source tells us that the case, which will be brought before a grand jury in mid-November, came together after prosecutors found new evidence that they believe connects Baldwin to recklessness around safety standards on the set. The film's armorer, Hannah Gutierrez-Reed, was previously charged with involuntary manslaughter earlier this year. Her trial is set to start in February. In a statement, attorneys for Baldwin say that they will answer any charges in court and that it is unfortunate that a terrible tragedy has been turned into this misguided prosecution. It was during a Rust set rehearsal in 2021 that Baldwin's prop gun fired a live round of ammunition, killing Hutchins and injuring the director. In interviews, Baldwin has maintained that the gun had malfunctioned.
Well, I didn't pull the trigger. I feel that someone is responsible for what happened, and I can't say who that is, but I know it's not me.
But in August, this gun analysis report, commissioned by prosecutors, found that the gun was functioning properly, contradicting Baldwin's claim that he did not pull the trigger. Hutchins' husband, Matthew, telling Hoda last year that he believes Baldwin's actions led to Halyna's death.
The idea that the person holding the gun, causing it to discharge, is not responsible is absurd to me.
Matthew Hutchins settled a wrongful death civil suit against Baldwin and the film's producers last year, and we've reached out to him for comment, but have yet to hear back. Also, production on the Rust movie resumed earlier this year, and it wrapped in May. Now, no word yet if its release date will now be delayed in light of this going before.
When was it supposed to be released? Do we even know?
So that was never released.
Okay.
It was never announced when that film was going to come out. But it was significant that Alec Baldwin went back, finished it, and some of the profits go to her husband, Matthew Hutchins, and that's part of settling that civil suit. And he serves as an executive producer on that film. And like I said, we've reached out to Matthew Hutchins for comment, and we haven't heard back just yet on what he thinks of this latest development.
All right, Chloe, thank you so much.
Thank you. Good to see you. Well, the suspect in the disappearance of Natalie Holloway is set to appear in an Alabama courtroom today for an anticipated plea deal. It's been nearly 2 decades since Holloway disappeared while on a high school graduation trip to Aruba. NBC News correspondent Sam Brock joins us now from outside the courthouse in Birmingham with more on what we can expect here. Hey, Sam, good morning.
Yeah, Savannah, good morning. To think this family may finally have some closure. Now, Jorn Vandersloot has never been charged in the death of Natalie Holloway. However, the Holloway family attorney says that he is expected today, Savannah, to accept a plea deal related to wire fraud and extortion charges, assuming he tells federal authorities how Natalie Holloway died and the manner in which her body was disposed of. Those are details the FBI reportedly has corroborated.
After nearly 2 decades of agony and unanswered questions for the family of Natalie Holloway, Jorn Vandersloot is reportedly set to accept a plea deal this morning that would finally reveal critical information about how Natalie died.
Is there a surreal quality to all of this now, given how long it's gone on for?
Absolutely. It's been almost 2 decades in the making, and the family has been through so much, and to finally get some kind of semblance of justice.
Vandersloot has been investigated for years in connection to Holloway's disappearance after she vanished on a trip to Aruba in 2005 and was never seen again.
Thank you for your continued support.
Holloway's mother, Beth, and her family attended Vandersloot's arraignment in June after the Dutch national's extradition to the U.S. from Peru, where he was serving a 28-year prison sentence for murdering a college student. Vandersloot is facing extortion and wire fraud charges for allegedly trying to obtain $250,000 from Beth Holloway for information about her daughter's whereabouts. He pleaded not guilty then, but according to the Holloway family's representative, that's about to change, which shocked even their camp.
We anticipated this being a long trial, grueling trial, and I'm glad that the family did not have to go through that process.
So this was unexpected.
It was unexpected.
No government officials have confirmed the plea deal, but according to Holloway family attorney John Q. Kelly, the deal is based on one very big prerequisite.
It was conditioned upon Mr. Vandersloot revealing details of how Natalie died and how her body was disposed of.
Beth Holloway hasn't spoken much publicly about the latest proceedings, though in June did say in a statement, "I am hopeful that some small semblance of justice may finally be realized, even though no act of justice will heal the pain that we've endured." And back in 2015, she told Hoda and Kathy Lee,
I do think that it's still possible that we could find where her remains are.
now, finally, there may be details that provide some form of closure to a heartbroken family.
And there is another important element to mention here, which is that in a court filing last night, guys, the judge said she is considering victim impact statements before sentencing, but that would only apply to Beth Holloway and immediate family members. Savannah and Joe.
All right, Sam Brock, thank you very much.
Coming up, hundreds of people are dead in the Mideast this morning.
Yeah, that's following a tragic explosion at a Gaza City hospital. Gazan officials are blaming Israel. Israeli officials blaming Gaza. We've got the Israeli Defense Force up next. We are back with more on that deadly hospital explosion in Gaza. Health officials there say several hundred people were killed and hundreds more were injured. Officials in Gaza and officials in Israel are blaming each other for the blast. NBC News has not been able to verify either side's claims. Major Doron Spielman joins us now. He's a spokesman for the Israeli Defense Forces. Thank you very much for joining us this morning, Major. So the Palestinian Health Ministry is calling this a targeted explosion, with Hamas and the Palestinian Health Ministry blaming Israeli forces for the blast. So we've seen some information from a colleague of yours, but if you could just definitively say, were Israeli defense forces involved in any way in the explosion at the hospital?
First of all, thank you for the opportunity to respond to this clearly. I want to make a very clear statement. The answer is no. Israeli forces were not at all involved in any targeted strikes, in any aerial strikes, any ground strikes or sea strikes at the time that this blast occurred. What we do know, as this was captured live on, of all TV stations, Al Jazeera, is that Islamic Jihad fired a barrage of rockets at 6:59 p.m. yesterday towards Israel. Around 7 p.m. or 7:01 p.m., there began to be announcements by Hamas that a hospital had been hit, clearly blaming Israel. We know and have provided proof, as you mentioned, that no question this was not Israel, and absolutely this was a misfire of a rocket by Islamic Jihad aiming to kill Israeli civilians that in the end ended up on one of their own hospitals and killed innocent Gazan civilians.
There is some debate over whether a Hamas weapon, knowing what they have, could cause this much damage. What do you say to that?
I say that, again, the evidence clearly, we have video showing that it was their weapon that fell in the area. We have them admitting it. We released the recording between two Hamas operatives speaking back to each other a minute after the blast, explaining one to the other that this was an Islamic Jihad misfired rocket fired from the cemetery behind the hospital, landing in the hospital and pinpointing the exact area of the blast. Regarding the payload, we assume that because the rocket was intended to reach Israel and it fell short, the fuselage was full of fuel, which combined with the warhead created the explosion. We very clearly do not need to explain any further than providing all the evidence. The people who need to explain are Hamas and Islamic Jihad, both of whom behave like ISIS, both of whom do not care about civilians. And this is one more example, I think it's very important to put this out there, where this is a calculated campaign to deceive the world. There is no way within minutes of a blast that someone can understand what happens. And unfortunately, many media outlets in the world cited Hamas, a terrorist organization, as a reliable source.
Can you get to the site, actually on the ground, to get samples from this crater to be able to provide more evidence that it was not Israel?
So at this point in time, as you know, Israel has not entered the Gaza Strip, with the exception of a few searches a few days ago to try and recover remains that were pinpointing to the hostages. Eventually, it's clear that the story will come out. We have satellite footage that we've released that shows that the actual hospital itself, another lie, was not hit whatsoever. The rocket that fell short landed in the parking lot of the hospital, which calls into question all of Hamas's claims, such that 500 civilians were killed. Again, I mourn the loss of any civilian, but most likely, and they haven't allowed anyone into the area, most likely what we're going to find is that this is a true false claim by Hamas. There probably were a few people killed there. They exaggerated the numbers. They blamed Israel incorrectly. And we hope that the world is not going to allow itself to be outsmarted once again by Hamas's tactics to deceive them.
Putting aside the conversation of who is responsible, Major, does seeing an event like this that happened within that area where civilians were asked to evacuate, factor into any plans here for you in terms of potentially a ground invasion that we could see, and just how many civilians are still in this area in several hospitals throughout the north of Gaza?
Well, I think there's no question that from the very beginning, this is factored in. The fact that there are civilians living in Gaza has factored into our operational plans. It's been 5 days now that we've been encouraging Gazan civilians. We've communicated with them on every single platform possible, dropping leaflets on all the platforms. All the Gazan civilians know that Israel has asked them to move out of the way of the war zone. And we've done that because we don't want to see further loss of civilian lives. Unfortunately, and this is not surprising, Hamas, which behaves like ISIS, they hide under tunnels underneath the ground, but they tell their families don't leave the building above, because they know that if the IDF, while searching for Hamas by mistake, kills a civilian, Hamas will then turn to the world, say that this is a humanity crisis, and pressure the world to pressure Israel to stop. What happens then is Hamas goes back underground, rebuilds itself, and carries out another massacre. This has to stop somewhere. So yes, we're very sensitive to civilians being there, but once again, the finger points to Hamas, who are using their own civilians like puppets. They don't care about their civilians. They're simply a prop in their deception that they are laying against Israel.
But then there are some civilians, right, like we're seeing at this hospital, where we were hearing from doctors, we're hearing from medical officials, even those outside of Gaza or the Palestinian Health Ministry, saying these people can't move because of the medical treatment they're receiving.
Look, there is a crisis on both sides of the border, both on the Israeli side, where we've been lifting up populations and moving them, and also in Gaza. Now, many of these civilians have had 5 days to move. It's around 8 miles. It's not easy, but we're doing everything we can to get them out of the way. The problem is the real humanitarian crisis in Gaza is actually Hamas. It is greater than all these problems. It's greater than the water. It's greater than the electricity. It's greater than anything. If we do not remove Hamas, we will continue to see the cycle of a humanitarian crisis repeating itself time and time again. And the victims aren't only in Israel. They're the Gazans themselves. Hamas has got to be eliminated for both sides and for the betterment of the world and humanity.
I also now want to ask you about hostages before I let you go, Major. So a senior Hamas official told our Richard Engel, a colleague of mine, that the group is willing to release all civilian hostages immediately if Israel stops its bombing campaign of Gaza. How does that factor into decision making? Is that something that you would consider? Just what are the lines of communications like between the IDF and Hamas at this point about hostages?
So I can't comment directly on the hostage situation. You can understand that it's incredibly sensitive at this time. Obviously, every Israeli, including myself, we all either know a hostage or know somebody who knows a hostage. It's a very small country. We're deeply affected. What I can say is if Hamas thinks that the hostages are going to save them from being destroyed, they're completely wrong. We have said, and we will stay by this, the elimination of Hamas is existential for the state of Israel. It's existential for humanity, and we will not stop until we have eliminated any ability of that terror organization that resembles Hamas, that's sitting on our border, only a few miles from our border, from existing.
Can you shed any light on what we may see in the coming days on what a next phase looks like?
We are ready right now. I was just down south by land, by air, and by sea. We're carrying out aerial strikes right now against senior Hamas targets. We eliminated 3 of their most senior commanders yesterday. We're preparing for what the next stage will be. What it will be, I can say this. It will take a long time. This is not going to be a short campaign. This is an actual war designed to carry it out, to stop Hamas in their tracks. We're going to have to be as careful as we can about civilians while dealing with the complexity of the issue that Hamas is going to be hiding behind them at every point in time. That's what we're going to see. We may see more civilian deaths, and it pains me that we may, but we have to remember every time, check the facts. We don't repeat. We do not report on Hamas as a reliable source. Give every single moment a chance for Israel to conduct research. We will tell the truth, even if it's painful. And that is how the viewers, your viewers and others, understand truly what's happening here. Again, Hamas started this. We are going to end this.
Major, just a moment ago on our screens, viewers were seeing the Rafah border crossing that's between Gaza and Egypt. That has remained closed. Foreigners have not been able to exit, and aid has also not been able to get in, even though much is waiting on the other side of that. What would it take to allow for the crossing to open and aid to get through? What do you think about that possibility?
I think that the Gazan people that have been hostages of Hamas all these years, those who've been able to leave their homes, because Hamas has held many at gunpoint and are not allowing them to leave their homes, those who have headed south past Wadi Aza to the new point, the idea is that that is an area that international aid will be provided. We have to understand, Hamas in the past, and I saw this with my own eyes yesterday, and I showed it to your crews as well, have been taking international aid and turning it into bombs and weapons. It's a complex process to make sure that there are weapons and that they're not using them for faulty purposes. But I'm confident that that will go forward. And in the next few days, the next few hours, those people will receive the aid, the humanitarian aid that they need.
All right, that is good to hear. Major Doran Spielman, thank you very much for joining us this morning, answering and covering quite a bit here. And we will keep checking in with you. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Let's get you to some money news now, and a new proposal from the Federal Reserve that could put some money back in the pockets of businesses. CNBC's Bertha Coombs has more on that and other financial headlines this morning. Hey, Bertha.
Hey, Savannah. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of small businesses really attuned to this. The Federal Reserve is planning to propose reducing the fees businesses pay when customers use debit cards to purchase items. The Fed has the power to change those so-called swipe fees. The Wall Street Journal says the Fed will vote next week on the proposal, and the public can then weigh in after that. Businesses have long asked for lower fees. They currently pay card issuers 21 cents plus a small fraction of the transaction price every time you swipe your card. The IRS, meantime, is planning a limited rollout of its new free e-filing program. The agency will invite select taxpayers in 13 states to try out direct files starting in February. If all goes well, the IRS will open it up to anyone in those states who will want to use it. Now, there are some limitations. Direct file doesn't process state tax returns, and it doesn't deal with itemized deductions. Only certain tax credits are allowed, like the earned income tax credit, the child tax credit, and credits for other dependents. You can deduct teachers' expenses and student loan interest, but that's it. Meantime, Roblox exists in a virtual universe, but the CEO of the company wants employees to work in the physical office of the firm. He's told staff in a memo that people who don't want to work in the office at least 3 days a week will need to find a job somewhere else. Remote workers have until mid-January to decide. Roblox will pay for relocation expenses for people who moved away during the pandemic. Just last year, though, the company had told employees they could choose to work in the office a few days a week or fully remote. A lot of folks are changing their minds on that. Personally, I like being in the office.
Me too.
You just get a much better feel, you know?
All the way. I agree with that. I do understand, though, some people with that flexibility, what it can do for their lives. It's definitely an ongoing conversation, an interesting one. Bertha, thank you so much.
It really is.
Right now, we want to show you some live pictures before we head to break. This is President Biden on the ground in Israel, meeting with the families of first responders. This comes after he landed overnight for us here in the U.S. and has now met with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu as well as his war cabinet. There is much more ahead on Morning News Now. Stay with us.
Finally this hour, we're revisiting a classic video, one of the very first to truly go viral. You probably know it by three simple words: David after dentist. First of all, David's now 22. Can you believe that? The video was recorded 15 years ago. Back then, David was 7, just had dental surgery and was feeling the effects of the drugs. His dad actually didn't post the clip online until the next year. He wanted to share it with friends and family, but the file was big, tough to email, so it was just easier to upload it to YouTube than send everyone the link. He just never imagined how many other people would watch too.
How did it go?
I didn't feel anything.
His name is David DeVore, but you probably know him as David after dentist. How do you feel about that title?
I love it. It's been a fun adventure. It's been its own part of my life.
Starting with the part when he was 7 and still feeling pretty loopy after dental surgery.
I feel funny. Why is this happening to me?
A moment immortalized by his dad, David Sr.
You know, you remember those times you always said, if I only had a camera? Well, I actually had a camera that day, so I just got really lucky. That was it.
In the 2-minute clip, David Jr. is earnestly philosophical one moment.
Is this real life?
Yeah, this is real life.
Bluntly flustered the next.
Stay in your seat.
The anesthesia, of course, did wear off, but the video's legend would only grow. But when you watch it, what's your favorite part?
I think the end, when I just like, ugh.
Within days of posting it on YouTube back in 2009, the clip racked up a few million views.
At that point, they were like, okay, I've heard of this thing called going viral. I think that's what we're doing.
And what did you think?
I was just in shock.
There was some backlash from those who thought Dad was exploiting his son, but for the most part, folks loved it.
Is this real life?
The video was part of a Super Bowl ad for Vizio. Homer Simpson even referenced it on The Simpsons.
Which of you is the YouTube of the kid high on dentist gas? You.
And of course, they appeared on Today.
My friends thought it was funny at first, but then later they stopped talking about it.
You could have been embarrassed by it and wish it had never happened, or you could have your attitude. Why do you think you have your attitude?
I could only comprehend so much at that age. I was just kind of going with the flow, and I was like, oh, I get to go to New York. It's like, great, this is fun. People, like, I recognize people weren't making fun of me.
They've made a number of licensing deals, not to mention the YouTube ad revenue, which was helpful during the 2009 recession.
Had been selling real estate, and that went away overnight, so it literally, you know, saved us.
Today, the video has racked up more than 140 million views. Does that just blow your mind?
It does. Yeah, it's crazy.
David is now a senior at the University of Florida studying computer science, not dentistry. When he was accepted here, the school's president reenacted David's viral moment.
It's just funny that you didn't bring it up.
As for his classmates, at first, many didn't know David's identity.
Dude, what? He's just, I would have never known. He's very humble about it, and he's never gone out of his way to tell me.
And I didn't know that fact, and then someone told me later on, and I was like, no way. But I was in the midst of fame.
Is this going to be forever?
Turns out this moment did live forever. That's okay. It's still a welcome part.
Is this real life?
Of David's real life. So you might be wondering about David after graduation. Well, he'll get his diploma soon and plans to work in the computer science field. As for the video, kind of like a small business, something that does need to be managed, and Dad has been gradually turning over those responsibilities to the younger David. They're licensing it all the time, so.
I can't believe how old he is.
I know. Does that make you feel old?
Yes, it does.
David after dentist
and
is 22.
what a good idea to go check in on him. I just love that. Oh, so funny.
It was great to meet him and his dad. All right,
that video just captivated us. So funny.
That's going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now.
But the news continues right now.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.